Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of the Be Expert series. Today I have the distinct honor and pleasure of speaking with Tiffany Jones. Tiffany, I'm going to have you introduce yourself and tell our viewers what it is that you do.
Sure. My name is Tiffany Jones, as you mentioned. I'm a registered psychotherapist and sex and relationship coach in private practice here in Denver, Colorado.
So today, Tiffany is going to be shaking things up a little bit. This is not our standard interview. We're going to be talking about her recently released book, which I encourage everyone to get a copy. In fact, we're actually going to make some of these copies available to a few select viewers. We'll talk about that at the end. But Tiffany, tell us a little bit about your book. It has a very interesting, very catchy title. Probably going to shake people from their seats, which I think is good, but very interesting read. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so it's called Our Vacation Sex from A to Z. And I mean, the topic is about vacation sex, and that is about when we go away on vacation. Actually, there was a study recently in Playboy that said in 1 week, couples have more sex on a vacation week than 2 months at home. And why is that? So my book kind of talks about how people can apply some ideas and ways to continue vacation sex at home all the time. We don't have to go away to have great sex.
I think I'm on Expedia right now booking my vacation, just so you know. So let me ask you a question in all seriousness though. There's a lot of varied opinions on the importance of sex in a healthy relationship, and that sounds like a stupid question, but tell us why a healthy sexual relationship is important to any relationship. Why is that so important?
Well, it's important for individuals as well as couples. Number one, sex is good for us. There's all these benefits that sex has. It reduces pain. It helps us sleep. It helps with menstrual cramps. It helps prevent the likelihood of developing prostate cancer. But in terms of connection with our partner, it's a close, intimate way that we connect. And we forget about that. I think people need to go back to kind of the courting stage of their relationship and remember the touching, feeling, sexting, reaching out to your partner, keeping the sex alive in a relationship is so important. I think when people have their partner, whether they're married or living together, they start to kind of forget how sex can be so great. And so, it's how we are intimate with one another and really get to know our partner.
Very nice. So what inspired you to write this?
Well, I go on a lot of vacations as well, but
Okay.
I bring vacation sex home. And I just, in my practice, I deal with so many couples who they're just not sexually charged anymore. They kind of let the intimacy level kind of die down. Kids, take over and jobs and stress. And they just forget to be active in creating a great sexual experience with their partner. Great sex takes work just like relationships do. And we have to set time aside to focus in on that. And another thing is sex is always changing. What we like, fantasies change and grow.
Mm-hmm.
People don't put enough energy and effort into developing that and realizing the importance of what is your partner feeling? What do they want? What do you want? And expressing it. So communication is the huge problem that I see couples having, talking about sex.
So let me ask you a
Couples
question.
have sex, but they don't talk about it. Go
You know
ahead.
what? Actually, to your point right there, I think that's a great point you just made in terms of communication. I would say, half of a healthy sexual relationship is based upon open lines of communication. I mean, do you agree? I mean,
Oh, it's huge.
so how do you establish that communication? Because let's face it, some people are open to talking about sex, whereas others, because of either upbringing or uh, religious beliefs or personal beliefs, are more wary about that. I mean, let's face it. I mean, you're open to it. A lot of people that I know are as well too openly talk about their sexual relations, but in a very positive way. But that's not a lot of the population. So if you have someone coming in, say I'm coming in to see you as a therapist, and I say, I'm in a relationship. The relationship is seeming to lose its spark. We've been together for a certain period of time, and we both care about each other, but we really want to revive that spark. How do we open up those lines of communication? how would you characterize
Yeah, there's a couple, I think, different ways that could be a great starting point for that. And everything you said is true. People do have a hard time talking about sex. They have it, but they don't talk about it. So I think, good ways to start talking about sex, what you like and what you don't like. Number one, journaling back and forth to each other about the sexual experience that you had maybe the night before, and laying it out on paper and saying, hey, this was really great when you did this. What about trying this next time? So you're not face to face, because no one wants to give like negative feedback, I think, to their partner, and they don't want to be judged either. So if they have some kind of fantasy outside the box, it's hard to tell your partner what you want. But if you journal back and forth, I think that can be a great way. Another way, so it's not face to face, but hopefully face to face is where you're going to end up, but starting to open up lines of communication. In my book, I talk about the fishbowl. The fishbowl is basically writing little strips of paper about individual fantasies or scenes that you want to explore, and you fold up your paper, you put it in the bowl, and maybe on a given night or during the day you draw one, and then you use that as kind of the foundation for your sexual experience.
So saying that, what's the most common fantasy that you hear couples speaking to?
I get that question a lot. I don't think there is a common fantasy. I think some people, like you said, society says, let's not talk about sex. Let's not, go outside the box. So people do have a fantasy, and a lot of fantasies start and are created early on, even in childhood, in terms of what we sexually want, but we can't really express that with our partner because we don't want to be judged. We don't want them to think less of us. So, fantasies, there is no common fantasy, but if you don't know what it is, read some erotica, go into your head a little bit and think about what are those things that really excite you and turn you on. Develop fantasies. They're not stagnant, just like sex is not stagnant. It's constantly changing and moving. You have to be proactive to have an active fantasy life. And women especially, I think, are they shy away from fantasy because they don't want to be the bad girl. They don't want to be, they're juggling roles, like I'm the wife, I'm the mother. How can I also be this woman who has all these, things that may be not acceptable in society?
Sure. So let me ask you a question. So again, I'm going to put myself in the role of your client. I'm coming in and I say, I've been in a relationship for a while. I really want to spark things up. I know it's hard to condense everything you do into short synopses, but what are 5 easy or basic, not easy, but 5 basic steps that I can take to get the ball rolling, so to speak?
Sure. And some of the things we already talked about, I would say communication would be the first piece. And if you can't do it live, one-on-one, write an erotic story that you start the beginning of the story yourself, and then you give it to your partner and he kind of finishes it out. Communication, laying the groundwork to talk about, and it's part of being vulnerable, and that's that is how intimacy really grows, is saying, here's what I want, even though it's outside the box. Do the communication piece. The other thing would be, and we talked about this too, fantasy building. Let's do some role play. Let's maybe even shop for toys together. I think people, when they're married, they're not courting anymore, and we have to go back to that courting phase of trying to be sexy for our partner, taking the time to get out of the sweats and the ponytail, and greet your partner at the door with nothing on but maybe his jacket, or being creative. Sex should be a creative place to really kind of be a kid again, and just be playful. The other thing I would say, and sex therapists often use this idea of sensate focus, and that's saying, let's focus in on sensation. It doesn't have to be about penetration. It doesn't have to be about orgasm, but how does it feel when I scratch your legs, or I tickle your back, or I, blow blow in your ears a little bit, or play with your neck? And it shouldn't have to be about, erogenous zones, but people have different sensations in their toes that, might be erotic to them. So a good way would be use a blindfold. And this is not like a kinky thing, but use a blindfold and just explore your partner's body from head to toe and revisit that exercise, because what we like and what we don't like changes over the course of time. So the sensate focus idea would be great. Sexy date nights, some people, they get lingerie, they like lingerie, but they don't go shopping together. Go to an adult store, buy some toys together, make the evening drawn out, kind of, sexualize your evening, maybe do some aphrodisiac dinner and then go shopping together, build up, the day, sexy texting, maybe some naked pictures. It takes time and energy. Put these little, efforts into your partnership so you can kind of re-sexualize your experience with your partner. Was that 4 or 5?
I lost track. I lost my focus completely.
And go outside the box. People get very stuck in their ways, I think, in terms of, I won't do this and I can't do that. Be more open. If you're connected with your partner and it's a private thing. It's nothing that you're, going to share with your buddies. I can be vulnerable to say, let's do this and let's do that. It's all about exploration and communication and like limit your boundaries. People have such hard boundaries. I won't do this. Well, why not? Let's explore and communicate about things that we are interested in.
So talking about this, so obviously relationships are work. This is something that is going to require a little bit of work, a little bit of effort here and there, which can be fun, hopefully, but can have huge rewards in terms of really, I think, amplifying the whole experience of relationship. As you mentioned, why, as per the title of your book, why do we need to wait to go on vacation to have a great sexual experience? I mean, that just doesn't. Unfortunately, it's something that I think that happens to all of us. We fall prey to that, where we're, like you said, too busy with kids, too busy with our careers, or whatever else, other things that we make excuses for. Let's bring the vacations home. So where can our readers actually purchase your book?
Well, either on Amazon or on my website, denversexology.com.
Okay.
Also on my radio show, temptationtime.com. And it's, there's several ways, but it's all about exploring all of these things, being open, communicating. Sex is positive. Talk about the stresses of the day. Sex is a great stress reliever.
Absolutely.
And that's a time we can kind of escape from all the troubles of the world. So it's about making time, putting it as a priority,
So that was wonderful, Tiffany. It was an absolute pleasure to speak with you. We've been talking vacation sex with Tiffany Jones. Stay tuned for more. Thank you.
Thank you.